Okay, hello, welcome to episode one of the Angus Chang podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, congratulations. I don't know how you found it, but yeah, what are we gonna talk about? I don't know. My plan is just to talk about what I did in like the last 7 days, and it could basically whatever the fuck I did. So like it could be like comedy or business or some app that I made, but yeah, I wrote down a few things to talk about, and maybe we'll just go through them. So I don't know when, but like I was reading. I think in the last week I finished reading this book about Challenger. It's called Challenger: A True Story of Heroism and Disaster on the Edge of Space. Who's it by? I don't know. I can't remember. I can't seem to find that. I guess I'll check my Kindle library. It's by Adam Higginbotham. It's a pretty good book. I mean, I didn't know too much about the Challenger disaster before reading this book, and it goes into like quite a lot of detail. So it even goes into like the beginning of NASA and the beginning of the space program in America, at least in the American side. It's quite long. I think 28 chapters, 600 pages. But actually, it's kind of I guess it was only 460 pages and the rest is notes. So like not that scary. Um yeah, I don't know, it was interesting. Like they they talk about like how the Apollo, Gemini and Mercury missions were like, white dudes and they're all like fighter pilots. And then when they moved over to like the space shuttle, they wanted diversity. It was kind of makes sense. So like they had like women and minorities and this kind of stuff, and it wasn't just test pilots. It was scientists and engineers and this kind of stuff. I think they had a few pilot type people. That was usually like whoever was in charge of landing the space shuttle. But other than that, they didn't really have those type of people. I think in the early stage of the space program, the idea was, oh, these things are really dangerous, so let's have these guys who are used to flying dangerous stuff and flying dangerous planes and dying. Um, but then later on, I think no, I guess at the time of the space shuttle, they thought it was like, well, it's pretty safe. We don't have to worry about them dying. But actually, I suppose if you like fly a lot more, you're gonna have a lot more accidents. Like the Apollo, Gemini, and Mercury missions, I think they probably had less than 30 in total. Whereas the space shuttle, like between 1980 and like 2012 or whatever it was, they'd fly like 5 to 10 times a year. So, it's just way more likely that you're gonna have an accident just because you're flying a lot more. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like because the book goes over the history of NASA as well as like the Challenger disaster. Reading half the book, I just forgot what book I was reading, and I was like, oh, I'm just reading a book about NASA. And then once they get to the space shuttle part, they actually introduce the guy kind of subtly introduces all the people who were on the Challenger flight. And usually when I read a book, I also like when you keep seeing a name, I kind of think like, oh, what does this guy look like? What does this woman look like? You know, I based on like what I'm reading, can I imagine what they would look like in real life? So I'd like Google these people, and then every person like Google it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. They died in 1986. That's kind of sad, and I just forget about it. I was like, oh, it must have been some tragedy, and I was like, oh. After a while, I realized, yes, they're all dying in 1986 because they were all on the Challenger. It's crazy, like 7 people were on that space shuttle, and I think the mission they were doing was like one was to do the teacher in space thing, but that wasn't. You could say that's the main mission, but actually the main mission was um, to launch a satellite. So they would send 7 people up there, and then on the space shuttle, and then the space shuttle would open its satellite bay or whatever you want to call it, and then the satellite would go out. And you know, before that, they would use unmanned unmanned rockets to do it, and after the space shuttle, we also use unmanned rockets to do it. So it's just kind of weird. Why would you risk people's lives, to put a satellite out? Like the first satellite was unmanned, it was Sputnik, right? So what's the point of what's the point of risking people's lives when you don't need to? Um, so I guess that's one thing that changed. I guess another thing that changed is they just stopped the whole like teacher in space program, which is kind of sad, I think, because I could see that. I don't know. It's like a PR thing, but it also it's kind of nice, and I do think there's a thing in America where like America doesn't, just my opinion, America doesn't really value STEM education. And would this make a difference? Probably not, but it might help. Oh yeah, other interesting things. Like I think the first director of NASA, or like some guy in charge of NASA, his name was Max space Faget. I was like, that's a pretty funny name. Um, it wasn't pronounced like as you think. It's like it was pronounced Fazet or something like that, but it's just a funny name. There's quite a lot of funny names in NASA. There was another guy called oh, what's he called? Something like, oh yeah, Dick Truly, Dick space Truly. It's just like, I guess he's probably born in like the 1920s, and like it's just not funny back then, but today it's a very funny name. Yeah, so good book. I'm looking through my highlights from that book. I don't know. Maybe this is gonna turn into like a book review podcast, which I think could be kind of cool. So next time I read a book, I'll take more notes. But this book I read it, and I just read it. That's that was like the sad thing in my life, like I read a lot of books in primary and high school, but I would always fail English class, like English language, English literature, because I don't really like talking about books, and I don't like writing essays about books. I just want to read it, I just want to know, I just want to enjoy reading the book. Why do you have to talk about it? What's the point? Yeah, the other thing was like, English class, debating class. Um, I always thought debating was such a like stupid stupid skill, especially when you look at like competitive debating. Like how does this like how is this solving problems? Just because someone's good at debating doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Um, it's kind of used, but like I don't know. Oh yeah, this is one of the highlights. While Sally Ride and her new husband like to spend their evenings at home playing the fantasy-themed video game Zork on their Apple II computer, and would sit down after dinner to run through the shuttle's ascent checklist. Resnick went out dancing in the nightclubs of Central Houston, collected art, cooked Julia Child recipes for her friends, and played the baby grand piano she had installed on the ground floor of a two-story townhouse in Clear Lake. So why did I highlight that? It's just because I've heard of this game Zork, Zork. It's like a text-based adventure game. Um, because I was in that area for a little. I used to play a lot of adventure games. I even made some adventure games, and I would always hear about Zork as being like a really good example of one of these. But I never played it, and now, like, even in like 2008 when I was making these adventure games, you could just download Zork, and it was like less than 1 meg. Um, but those games they're really unforgiving. You have to have a lot of patience to play them. And I guess back in 1970 or 1981 or whatever it was when Zork came out, you'd buy one game and you'd go home and play it on your computer, and you didn't have alternatives. You're like, oh, I can't figure out this game. What should I do instead? Should I play, one of my other 2,000 games on Steam? No, I can't. It doesn't exist. I'll just have to keep trying to play this game. So it's an interesting thing, like 1980s, 1970s game development was very unforgiving. And I think people liked it. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, there was another cool thing. Like, here's another highlight. Finally, late on the second day of the mission, Gene Kranz arrived in the flight control room with a handful of black and white photographs depicting in extraordinary clarity the underside of Columbia, revealing no sign of serious damage. The two astronauts could safely bring the orbiter home. After all, when asked by members of his flight control team where the pictures came from, Krantz was characteristically blunt. I can't tell you, he said. Yeah, so I mean, what's the context for that? I think it was the first mission for Columbia, the Columbia shuttle. Went up to space, and they were worried that some of the tiles were damaged, but they can't check. It's like floating around in orbit. So what NASA did was they asked one of the spy satellites to reposition itself to take a camera of the to take a photo of the underside of Columbia so that they could see if it was damaged or not. Like these spy satellites are normally pointed at Earth, but I guess you can readjust them, you can turn them or whatever, and aim them at something else. So like, I thought that was kind of cool because, and the other thing was like, NASA told the shuttle, hey, turn just rotate around, to this, just do a rotation at this point, and the people in the shuttle are like, why? It's like, don't worry about why, just do it. So they rotate it, and then the spy satellite takes a photo of them, and then they get these photos, and then they look at the underside of Columbia, and they say, okay, it's fine, we don't have to worry about the tiles. It's just kind of cool that they can do that. And why is that relevant? Because in 2003, Columbia, went up to space, and they were worried about the tiles being damaged. And did they do the same move? Did they adjust the spy satellite to take a photo of the underside of Columbia to see if it was damaged? They didn't. They didn't get a photo of it, even though in 1980 or whatever it was, even though those two disasters were 23 years apart, so you'd think there would be even more spy satellites. So it's even, in a way, it's even less of an ask. You just say, turn one of the 700 spy satellites. But they didn't do it. And I think the reason they didn't do it was because the message just didn't get through the what's it called? The bureaucracy. So it's kind of sad. Maybe if they did take that photo, then they wouldn't have tried to return Columbia, and maybe that crew would have survived. I don't know, because how do you bring back the Columbia crew? I guess you send some other shuttle up and then move them to the other shuttle, and then just leave. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I'm sure they could figure it out, but they didn't, and that's why they all died. So anyway, that was a cool book. How long have I been talking for? Let me check. This is pretty long already. 13 minutes. All right, you know what? I'll just cut some of the shit I was going to talk about. I'm also reading a book called Wiseguy. I think I'm like 2/3 done. What is it? It's like the book that was turned into Goodfellas, the movie. What's his name? Something Scorsese. Well, I forgot Scorsese's first name, but it's a book that was turned into movies, Goodfellas. The book's quite good, but I'll talk about it next week when I finish it. So what else? I've been working on this website called documentworker.com. The idea is you upload any file, and then you say what action you want done to that file, and then the server will do it, and then you download the resulting file. So one example is you upload a video file and you say extract the audio, and then it gives you an MP3, or resize the video, or mute the audio, or give me the first 5 minutes of this video, or whatever, right? So it's just to build this app requires building lots of actions that people want to do, and then the more actions you have, potentially the more people should use the app. So how's it going? It's not going that well. So I was using Google Ads to acquire users, and like, yeah, people do use it, and some people seem to be using it correctly and getting what they want. And then sometimes people ask for things that like we can't do, and then you look at those what they asked for, and you think, okay, actually we could do that. We just need to implement this action or that action. So that was kind of my plan. It's like you just build it, make a few actions, get some users, see what they're asking for, and then build what they're asking for, and then you just keep iterating on that. So eventually you'll just support loads and loads of actions and have lots of users. Right now, it just supports video processing, and it uses FFmpeg to process videos, and it also uses like an LLM. It uses Grok to decipher what command the user wants. So in the back end, we say like, oh, we can do these actions, and then the front end accepts like some user request, so like extract audio from this video. That's what the user might say. And then the LLM reads that user request and says, oh, that might mean this thing that we can do, so try do it. Yeah, it's like live. Very, very few people are using it. I was running ads for it, but they timed out or something, so I might turn them back on. But I also want to try not, obviously I'd rather have not paid, like free user acquisition. So I think Google and Facebook ads are good to start with, but they're very expensive and you don't really want to do it for too long. So that's Document Worker. I need to do some work on that soon. Basically today. I guess after this podcast, I'll do some work on that. What do I need to do? That's something I can think about. What do I need to do? Yeah, I think I'll just turn the ads back on, make some more actions. Yeah, I was thinking about doing an OCR action and a transcribe action, maybe an image editing action. Maybe using image magic. I don't know if that's good. Image editing action. Maybe using image magic. Is image magic even still used? Image magic. Let me ask Grok. You know what? I'll look it up later. Let's go on. Okay, so that's like that's that app. Bank statement converter. I was working on that quite a lot last week. I made this feature, this detect other tables feature. So the idea is there's a mode in bank statement. There's two modes in bank statement converter. There's like the convert mode, which tries to automatically extract the data. This is what most users use. And then there's the fallback manual extraction mode, which I call inspect mode. But the inspect mode is really annoying because you need to draw rectangles where the data is, and then you draw horizontal and vertical lines to create the grid. And if you have 1 or 2 tables, that's not too bad. But if you have like 700, it's not good at all. You don't want to be doing that. So, okay, how can you do less of that? One idea I had was like these tables, if you have a PDF with like 700 tables on it, it's probably the same headers over and over again, especially in a bank statement. It's like date, description, credit, debit, balance. So let the user draw the table once and then press the detect other tables button, and then the back end can automatically search through the PDF for similar tables, and it does work. There's like bugs and stuff and improvements to be made, but I got it working for one user document that was really tricky. So it's in production. I don't know if anyone's using it. How could I check? I guess I could check. Let's check right now. Deploy. I could check by looking at the logs and seeing if anyone hit that button. What's the API called? Let's take a look. Detect other tables. PDF root. Detect other tables. Okay. So the API is API v1. So if I do grep, let me just check it. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. It has been used. It was used yesterday. Is that yesterday? Okay, so it was used yesterday and Saturday, which I think Saturday is when I deployed it. Yeah, so some of these would be me, but the ones yesterday are definitely not me. So maybe it's work. Maybe, maybe it works. I don't know. The thing is, actually, it needs more logging. Like, just because somebody hit the API doesn't mean it worked. You kind of want to see, like, they passed in this table and they got back these tables. Because if you just hit it, if you just hit that button as soon as the page loads, it's not going to do anything. So yeah, maybe I'll add some logging for that. But that's quite a cool feature, and I hope that is it's good for two reasons. One, it saves people time when they're doing the manual mode. The thing is, actually not that many users use the manual mode. They just they go to the manual mode and then they send me an email saying it didn't work. So manual mode's a bit tricky. Like, I could do some work to improve the UI, but another benefit of this feature is it's good when users are drawing tables on the PDF, because I can use that data for the next user who uploads a similar PDF. So, like, let's say user uploads a PDF and it's like bank 72, and then we can't find the data automatically, and then the user draws a table and says, this is the data I want, and we can use that table to say, okay, next time somebody uploads bank 72, try look for tables like this. And then that's good, because the app is getting more accurate, and it's because of user input instead of like me doing work, which is nice for me. Yeah, so that's that feature. I think on Thursday or Wednesday I went hiking. I think it was Wednesday actually. I went hiking from Tungchong to Moiwo. I did a flat. It was really hot that day. I think, can't remember what day. I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday. It was really, really hot, like 30 plus degrees and no clouds. But I was doing this hike like under shade. So that was quite cool. It was like a 7-kilometer hike. The kind of annoying thing is, like, I'm really just trying to walk further. Like, instead, I was running a lot, but then I keep getting like sunburnt, and I'm trying not to get sunburnt, and also, like, I would just eat so much after running. So I'm trying to like replace running with walking. But I don't really want to be walking in the sun because I'll just get even more burnt. So I'm looking for like shady places to walk. So yeah, that was a good hike. Yesterday me and Candace took our dog to the peak. We like went to Candace's house, picked him up, drove to Chifu, parked in the parking lot, and then walked to Pokfulam Reservoir, then up to the peak, and then back down again. That was really tiring. I was like, so even though I don't know what it was, I guess it's like more walking and more messing around because you have a dog. Yeah, I like, the dog's pretty young as well. He's like 6 months old, so he's really curious about everything. So normally if I just walk up to the peak and down, it's like a 90-minute walk. But because I was with the dog, it was like 3 hours, because the dog kept like looking at stuff and going swimming and stuff. So it was kind of fun. Um, oh yeah. Also, yesterday I've been just messing around with video editing and ChatGPT and Grok, video production. I made this video. So there's this like Marlon Brando scene in a movie called On the Waterfront, where he's in a car with his brother and they're talking about how his brother messed him over. And his brother's like a gangster. But I just thought it would be funny if I replaced his brother with Plumpy Bird, who's like this plush toy that my girlfriend has. So I took screenshots. It was quite fun actually. Like that, it was quite fun doing it. That scene has like maybe 7 different cuts, even though it's filmed in the backseat of a car, which is probably not, but it's supposed to be the backseat of a car. There's a bunch of different cuts, right? There's a bunch of different camera angles. And then what I did was I took a screenshot for every camera angle, and then I used ChatGPT to replace the brother with Plumpy the plush toy. And so I made the images first, and then I just overlaid, while I was editing the video, I just overlaid the images in the video editor. And yeah, that was okay, but then I was like, it's very obvious that it's just an image, and it doesn't look good. So then I used Grok Imagine and I said like, just do minimal animation or no movement, just like, or like talking animation, but don't move the body or anything. And like with a bit of experimentation and a bit of video editing, I think the result came out pretty good. It's not particularly funny. It's just funny to me and my girlfriend, but it was kind of nice video editing practice, So that was kind of cool. It could do it for other stuff, but it's nice to have like these techniques, one of these skills in your like tool belt. It's just nice to be able to do this kind of stuff. So next time, like it just gives you good ideas for other stuff to do. Yeah, this week was pretty. Did quite a lot of comedy. So Monday I was at 109. That was good. There were a lot of people in the audience. Everyone did pretty well. Like the crowd was laughing, and it was a good night. It's fun times at 109. I tried some new jokes as well. I think I did like 2 old ones and then 5 new ones, and they kind of worked. So that was good. Wednesday I was hosting Not Too Sweet. I haven't done that. I don't think I've done that once this year. It was the first time this year I hosted it. That was cool. I enjoyed it. Willie was there. He was pretty funny. He was heckling a little bit. Yeah, it was fun mic at Not Too Sweet. And then directly after the mic, Willie just fell asleep. So I haven't told you who Willie is. Willie is like a 70-year-old man. He's born in 1959, so I guess he's 70 in 2029. So he's 67. So he came to the mic, and then afterwards he lay down on like one of the sofas and just fell asleep. And everyone thought he was dead. I was a bit worried about him, so I was going to call the ambulance, but he said no, don't. And then I went outside to talk to JT, and then Willie walked out. So he was okay. He didn't die. Thursday, I was hosting, what's it called? What's that place called? Fagai, Fagai. Not great. Like we had, I think I got there at 7:30 for the sign up. It was just me and Dave for like half an hour. So I just talked to Dave for half an hour, and then people slowly started coming in. So I think by the end of it, we had 7 comics. And then because it was, not many comics, I didn't really give anyone the light. Like I still timed everyone, but I didn't give anyone the light. It was also like between 2 and 6 people watching. So at first there were about, like when I started, there were 2 people in the room. Then as I started talking, I think people outside the bar heard comedy was going on, so they walked in. So they came in and watched, and then they like slowly, as the acts went on, they slowly left. So at the end of it, there was two in the audience. I mean, two is still counts as a, it's still audience. You can do something with two, I guess. But yeah, I didn't give people the light because normally, like, what I've noticed is if the crowd isn't very good, then the comics actually do less time, or they they probably do less than five. Like if there's one person watching and you're on stage, you kind of want to get off stage. You have to be pretty crazy to stay on stage while while nobody's there. Yeah, but that was okay. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to one last thing I want to do is I've been charging my Android phone because I want to try to figure out a way to install TikTok onto it, and then like a VPN as well. So I've got this Google Pixel, which is like the biggest, heaviest phone, and I really don't like it. But I might start using it to upload TikTok videos or something. But yeah, that's it. That's the end of the podcast. Wow, it talked for a long time, half an hour. That's crazy. Okay, well, see you next time. Maybe see you next week, and we'll talk about whatever the fuck I did in the following 7 days. See you later.